Thank you very much, Delphine. Good afternoon to you all. I made pretty concise remarks that go through the following points that I will present. First of all, the cliché that we are at a crossroads that we've been saying and putting in the European Council conclusions for many years no longer applies. We believe that there is one path open to us to ensure that Europe is, first of all, safer, it is stronger, and it is made simpler. First of all, on security and defence, we must ramp up. If we look at the data that is coming into us, 70% of Europeans tell us that they want the European Union to take a bigger role in protecting them. And we must heed that call by investing more, by producing more, and cooperating with our partners more. In this case, the European Parliament is doing its part. You will see in the Council conclusions different requests for the co-legislators to do individual steps. So I updated the heads of state and government as to where we are and where we expect to be in the next weeks and months. If we look back on the part that we have played on ammunition and common defence procurement, we delivered, and we delivered quickly. Where there is an emergency, we have proven that we act very swiftly. So, for example, last week we approved an urgency procedure for the European Defence Industry Programme, so EDIP, which will allow us to finalise negotiations quickly. And we trust that the Council will now match the Parliament's speed and that emergency procedures will become a thing of the past. If there's something we all agree on in these specific circumstances that we find ourselves in, is that we have no time to waste. On Ukraine, we will always stand for peace, and all possible steps towards this are welcome. But it has to be a real and lasting peace that is based on the principle of nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine, one that guarantees that sovereign and independent nations are not taken over by force. Second, when we talk about security, it must also be coupled with economic growth. This is why action on Europe's competitiveness is urgent. If we don't lead, we will lag. We know what needs to be done. We just now have to do it. So the European Parliament will play its role also in this case in taking the simplification drive forward. Already during the next plenary, we will adopt an urgency procedure for the simplification omnibus by doing what essentially has never been done before. However, creating the right regulatory framework is only one part of the story. The other one is capital. And on this, we need to complete our savings and investments union. The Commission proposal is welcome, but it is still a first step. This will unlock billions in private capital, which would allow us also to finance our future. If we are looking beyond yesterday's proposal and looking at further giant leaps, this is one thing where we need to seriously focus on fueling innovation, industry and investment. Last point, stronger security and stronger economy require smart spending. I alluded to this towards the end of my remarks with the European Council. Where we can make a real difference is within the EU's next long-term budget. So the next MFF, the multi-annual financial framework, must match what matters to people most, what people voted for last June, where people would like us to respond in terms of their concerns. And that is competitiveness, making their lives safer, making their lives a little bit easier, making their lives fairer, also investment in defence. For this, we will push for meaningful reforms to make the budget, if we look at a 7-year programme, simpler, make it more flexible, more adaptable to what happens during what is a very long term, those 7 years, and more results-driven. For this, we will present our own initiative report in May in order to kickstart the process, which we take extremely seriously. Let's be clear, Europe's citizens are watching. They are watching us, what we do today, tomorrow, in the next few weeks and months. They expect action, they expect it quickly. And in times of crisis, ultimately, leadership matters. And we will lead with unity, with ambition and with courage. Thanks.
Thank you, President. We now have the time for a few questions. Konrad? Wait a second for the microphone.
Thank you, Madam President. Konrad Kramer from the Austrian newspaper Kurier. The EU Commission has tabled enormous amounts of money concerning defense, where the Parliament seems to play a rather minor role in all of these amounts of money now tabled for defense. With the Parliament being the central fact concerning the budget, isn't that a bit diminishing for your Parliament to see this money go?
So thank you for this. You're referring to the 150 billion euros that was proposed under the so-called Article 122. Our position was made very clear. Look, we are ready to act. You can no longer, I would say, hide behind the excuse that the Parliament takes long in order for decisions to be taken. And also, why would you seek a solution that goes around your best ally on this topic, where majorities are clear, when you could have that ally with you? This point was made, and I can tell you that it is a point shared unanimously, quite rare, by all political groups in the Parliament. Now, where do we go from here? We show that on EDIP, it took us a couple of weeks in order to identify the rapporteurs. It will take us a further maximum 1 month to adopt our position. 2, when it came to ammunition and procurement, it took us 6 weeks. Never before were decisions taken so quickly. Does that mean that we don't do our job well? No, but we have reformed in order for us, for example, to avoid waiting for months before a rapporteur is appointed. So to give you an example, last week the proposal on returns was sent to us only last week, so let's not think that it's been at us for a long time. Within hours, I referred it to the committee responsible, and we are waiting for the rapporteur to be appointed, I would say today, tomorrow, or early next week. So we can go fast, and we will go fast. And I'm saying this because that is a message that the Member States heard and that the Commission heard. Last mandate, you will recall that similar attempts were made in order, under the guise of urgency, to exclude the European Parliament. I think the lesson there was also learned, if I will remind you, for example, of the disbursements of funds to countries like Egypt, where the first tranche was in a situation where the Parliament was not involved. The second tranche, the European Parliament was involved, and in fact we voted on it today. So I look at this with a sense of realism, understanding urgency, but also saying that we'll stand our ground.
Thank you. Henry?
Thank you so much. Henry Foy, Financial Times. Thank you for the floor. A follow-up to my colleague's question. One thing the Commission hasn't proposed is joint debt for defence. You now have the EPP, Renew and Green groups all calling for it. Would you like to see the Parliament as a whole putting pressure on the Commission to include this, and how do you intend to go about that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Henry. You mentioned the political groups. I would also say you see countries that have for decades resisted that move towards procurement and common debt, now I would say completely turning around their position, either because of national debates or a realization that if they don't do that, we will be stuck in a situation where we are squeezed, either because of our over-dependence on other continents, or because we cannot unlock capital fast enough to allow our industries to grow and ultimately be competitive. Did we have to wait until this current geopolitical situation to say that? No. However, the situation is where it is, and I think we need to step up. So there is an agreement very broadly inside the European Parliament. We will test it also within EDIP with the rapporteurs, because there is, I would say, a clear majority there on procurement within the Parliament to step up. defence investment. Of course, there are different views among member states on how we're going to achieve this. You will also hear different viewpoints coming from different prime ministers and heads of state saying, look, what we think is defence expenditure differs to what you think is defence expenditure, but that is, I think, something that will include or lead to more flexibility. All of this to say that we need to explore the different possibilities. Extraordinary circumstances call for extraordinary decisions. No idea should be off the table. We are ready to contribute fully in our role as the budgetary authority in order to find new ways of financing our needs coupled with economic growth. If you will, we need to find ways to move on new resources and new own resources.
Thank you, President. I think I had first Maria.
Thank you. Maria Vassiliou, Greek newspaper Tanea, on two different subjects. You had a meeting yesterday with the Cypriot president and also with the Secretary General of the UN. How could you, from your side, help towards further progress on the dialogue that has started between the two sides in Cyprus? And a second question concerning the arrest of the mayor of Istanbul. Are you planning, as president, or is the the European Parliament planning to take any initiatives concerning this issue? Thank you.
So, thank you very much. First of all, on Cyprus and my discussions yesterday with Secretary General Guterres and President Christodoulides, which discussions were very welcomed today in all the meetings I was in with, I would say, hope and optimism after the lack of it for the last, I would say, years since 2017 and Crans-Montana. What we saw now is more than ever a commitment that Europe will never be complete as long as Cyprus remains divided, that any outcomes, progress, confirmed also by Secretary General Guterres, that could take place within the UN framework will find full support by the European Parliament. Also the nomination of a personal envoy to, first of all, iron out the broad strokes but look at the big picture. So I am confident, I'm optimistic, I wish the best of efforts to Nikos Christodoulides and his government, and also to the Turkish counterparts, as supported by the UN. For me, I would say that after years of me not being able to say this, that today I can is something very welcome, and it's also one that I said in my comments to the Prime Ministers and heads of government. On the Mayor of Istanbul, of course, we're looking at this very closely. We stand by the position of the European Union as expressed by the High Representative and the Commissioner Kos. I would expect that there will be, yes, initiatives and debates. We'll need to see in the next couple of days as the agenda set will be taken up in the Strasbourg plenary. We will know this next week.
Thank you. We had Max from Politico.
Hi, thank you. I'd like to go back to the use of Article 122 for Next Gen now with defence. You already clearly stated that that the Parliament's not happy with the use of this article to circumvent Parliament. I wanted to ask you if you've had any reassurances from the Commission President, from Council, that this won't happen again, or that they will include you further, especially in the context of the framework agreement, which is being renegotiated. I understand it went back to the President's level after being negotiated between MEPs and Šefčovič. So I wanted to ask whether the Commission President has reassured you that they will include you further in the future. On Huawei scandal, I wanted to check whether you have any messages to all these MEPs that are sending letters around, already asking for action, for further reforms, to even sideline potentially involved MEPs. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So, reassurances. Negotiations on the framework agreement are going well. We look forward to ironing out, I would say, the last couple of points at my and President von der Leyen's level. A lot of work was done by my colleagues and also Commissioner Šefčovič, which I'm extremely grateful for, because I can tell you that this is unprecedented and nobody thought we would manage. So I'd like to keep that as the sort of broad picture, because that is where I think what will, in a sense, dominate the very constructive spirit with which we will work during this mandate. On Article 122, I will rely on the words in the treaty, in Article 122, which says, 1, it is exceptional, 2, there is a specific reference to energy, and 3, solidarity between member states. And those 3 criteria need to be met, and it is one that we take extremely seriously. And if I can also look at what happened last mandate, is that when the Parliament made it clear that it would not accept any more of this, it didn't happen. On your second question, Max. This is, I will give you, as you can imagine, a general answer with regards to the fact that I cannot comment on ongoing, if any, investigations. However, I joined politics to fight corruption, and when we were faced with a particularly difficult set of allegations in last mandate, we embarked on an unprecedented set of reforms, which were very difficult to push through, to have majorities over, in order to completely change the accountability and integrity standards that were needed to be held by members of the European Parliament and the administration. We pushed those through, and I will very gladly say that because of that push through, we now have alarm bells and firewalls in place, which means that if certain issues come to light, then the process can take place smoothly. Where are we at? We cooperate, as always, with the authorities. That's our job and our obligation. And I can reassure you that that is exactly what we've done. That is exactly what we will do, without speculation as to who or what or which names might still or not come to light. It is within that framework that I will take my job as an organisation and as an institution and its president extremely seriously within the confines of the law and my prerogatives.
Thank you. We will take a last question. Marek?
Thank you. Marek Majewski, German press agency, DPA. It's a follow-up on the alleged corruption scandal in the parliament. You already mentioned what you've done after Qatargate. Do you think you have done enough, or shall we get used to have a corruption scandal once a year or regularly? And if you think that you haven't done enough, what are the next steps you're aiming for to get better regulation in place? Thank you.
There is a difference between rules in place and implementation. So rules are in place and implementation is being done, I can tell you, as swiftly as possible. You will see, without a doubt, from the news as to some allegations that have been circulating since last week, a couple of requests that were made to the Parliament. Parliament complied immediately and will defend its prerogatives and defend itself as an institution, and that I need to make very clear. And that is also thanks to one of the reforms that we put, which sought to have better exchange of information between the Parliament and the seats where it is located. That is not a given, and that was not always the case, but now I am reassured that it is. What can we do in the future? The first thing I said in 2022 was that one can never exclude that wrongdoings will be committed. I would say this comfortably with absolutely any organisation that is made up of humans. What I can also tell you, however, is how you react to when those wrongdoings are alleged and those wrongdoings are proven and convictions ensue. We cooperate fully with all authorities and all agencies on this.
Thank you very much for attending this press conference, and we will end up here. Thank you.